Now the night tour, we're going to show you the whole city of Toronto, all the nice lights at night, sun going down, get a nice sunset. Take as many photos as you want, but please make sure you keep your hands and valuables inside of the bus as long as we're moving. Please remain seated at all times on the tour. And if you have any questions about anything that we passed, always feel free to ask. I love talking about the city, I really do. And weird new questions I've never heard before keep this interesting for me, because I do this every day. So we'll get started right here, heading up Yonge Street. Passing by a few different things, like the World Food Market, just over on our right there, if you're looking for a nice bite. We'll try some street food from all across the globe. That's been centralized here in Toronto. Now, Toronto has some of the best cuisine on the entire planet, in my opinion, because we have people here from all over the planet. We are arguably the most multicultural city on the entire planet. And with all those ways of immigration have come music and dance festivals and tons of different things, but especially food. So you can find some crazy food all across Toronto. Over up on our left here, we got the Chelsea Hotel, which is currently the largest hotel in Canada, believe it or not. Doesn't look that large, but it has an indoor-outdoor water slide for scale right there that pops out of the wall. It can house over 1,500 people at once inside those rooms, because there's over 1,500 rooms in there, and I'm sure you can even get more numbers than that, but that's not, every room isn't a single, of course. We got the Aura Tower up on our left, and this is currently the tallest building in Canada at 79 stories. 79 is massive, but it's going to be beaten in the near future by the Pinnacle, which they're building right down next to the water side. Can't quite see it from here yet, but you should be able to in the future, because the Pinnacle, they want it to stand 102 stories once it's completed, so another 30 stories, roughly, more than the Aura is. Now, for anyone that's been here for more than a day, you've definitely seen the CN Tower already, even if it's just at a distance. But I didn't say that was the tallest building because it's a tower, not a building. For a building, you have to access every one of the floors. So 79 floors there. The CN Tower is mostly an elevator shaft with the viewing platforms at the very top, of course. College Park on our left-hand side here is a very historic building. This was a major retail space in the 1930s, built in the late 20s by the Eaton family. Same people that designed the Eaton Center Mall back at Yonge Dundas. Some of you may have got some nice stuff there earlier today, but College Park, they were building originally. This is another one where they wanted it to be the tallest in the city at the time. They planned for it to be 38 stories tall. I give you guys 1 second to realize what's wrong. It is like 7 floors. It ran out of funding as we entered the Great Depression, and they had to abandon the project. So at 7 stories, they capped the whole project, and up on that 7th floor there, they had a jazz lounge and bar that they installed, however. Luckily, that was completed because it hosted the likes of Aretha Franklin and Frank Sinatra and Louis Armstrong, big name jazz performers. Whenever they made their way here to Toronto, would typically perform there up at College Park. We're going to go across College Street right here, which becomes Carlton Street. A lot of the streets changed name once they hit Yonge Street, which we were just going along, so keep that in mind as you go around the city. Sometimes the change is very subtle because it'll be divided into a west and east portion, so you know what side of Yonge you're on. West, over there, or east, over the direction we're going now. Carlton Cinema on our left, personally one of my favorites in the city. If you're looking to see some movies, they got $3 and $5 movie nights. They got $3 stretch on tonight. Anything that they have in the catalog, but they have a lot of new movies that have just dropped. They're independently owned, and please don't go to Cineplex because it is a chain theater that goes through. Loblaws, however, it's a big grocery store that occupies Maple Leaf Gardens nowadays, but it pays homage to that hockey history. If you go inside the Loblaws here, I think it's aisle 22. You can go down one of the aisles, I think it's 22. Right in the middle there, there's a blue dot on the ground showing you exactly where Center Ice used to be. So, a lot of people go into that Loblaws. You don't have to buy anything. Don't tell Galen Weston Jr. that, but you don't have to. You can go in, find that dot on the ground, and stand right where many of the best names in hockey once faced off against each other. Loblaws is a major grocery chain you'll find across Canada, along with Metro and a few others, Sellers. As we head north here along Church Street, now Church is going to take us into an interesting neighborhood of the city known as the Village. So, lots of rainbows around here, lots of pride flags, because this is in the hub of Toronto's LGBT community since the 60s. This is the hub of our Pride Parade. Every June, of course, during Pride Month, we have a major Pride Parade here in Toronto. At this point, you can find all the newest and latest people singing and lip-syncing and dancing to Chapel Row In. You can pay like $40 for a cocktail, whatever floats your boat. They can make you strong there for anyone that wants. Just a fun trip with the city to walk along here. If you go about 2 more blocks north, there's one more restaurant called Storm Crow Manor. So storm like bad weather, which storm like bad weather, crow like the bird. And Storm Crow Manor is this big Victorian manor house. It's actually quite old, but was bought out by a guy who redesigned all the rooms to look like, well, sets from movies and TV shows. You can go to the bar from The Shining, or the Red Room from Twin Peaks, Mos Eisley Cantina from Star Wars. They got a Rancor head mounted on the wall. You got Han Solo frozen in carbonite. For any TNT fans on board, you can get a 20-sided dice, and if you roll the dice, it tells you what random shooter you get from a list. So if you roll the 20, you get the biggest and best shooter, and you get to keep the glass as a little take-home token. If you roll a 1, however, you get vodka and hot sauce. So there's a big range, good to bad, what you can get there, but highly, highly recommend Storm Crow. We're going to make our way across the city. We're kind of going westward right now, heading back over towards Yonge Street, and eventually we're going to find our way over to the Ontario Legislature building, which is the headquarters of provincial politics. NGE is pronounced Young, not Yon, but I get it all the time, Yon. Yonge starts all the way down at the Toronto waterfront, and it is the oldest street in Toronto. There has always been a major road. This is the main street of Toronto that goes all the way through the city, and in fact, it keeps going once it leaves the city. It goes all the way through northern Ontario, eventually wrapping around to a small town called Rainy River on the Minnesota border, in total measuring 1,896 kilometers. So it is the longest street in the world. And Guinness World Records gave us the record for a few years. We had the longest street in the world title, and then they took it away from us. Not because there was another longer street that got built, but on a technicality, once Yonge leaves Toronto, it's redesignated as Highway 11. So it's technically not the same street. Even though you don't turn off of it onto any other road, you can drive the entire length. But that was enough for Guinness to take it away from us. So once you go home, or once you get off this tour a bit later, please write to Guinness to give us back our world record. We keep losing world records left and right. We used to have tallest tower, and then Dubai took it in 2008. We gotta hold on to what we've got here. So many of the tallest buildings come off and ask how you can identify what they're for. A lot of this is residential. Most of the stuff we're passing around right now is downtown condos and apartments. And a key giveaway is if the building has balconies. People in Toronto highly value balcony space, even though for a lot of the year it's very cold outside. For the times when it is nice, people like the ability to come outside and get some fresh air. If you built a new condo or apartment without balconies, that would severely damage the value that you could probably charge for the rooms, which they wouldn't have a hard time doing because Toronto has some of the most expensive housing in Canada. One-bedroom apartment is going for roughly $2,000 to $2,500 a month right now, so it's very, very pricey to live in the city here. Again, that's on average. Over on our left here, though, this is office space. As you can tell, no balcony. We have a lot of brutalist architecture in the city. This is by far one of the most absurd. It is literally just cubes. Anyway, nothing to really see there. But we'll be impressed a bit more, I think, by the actual Legislature Queen's Park. Spend some time wandering here. You can find every type there. Nowadays, as I mentioned, it's not well used by the university for the same purpose. It's been loaned to the city of Toronto, and the city is leasing it on a lease that lasts 999 years. And we are paying $1 a year to the University of Toronto for this space, which technically makes this the cheapest property in downtown Toronto. Watch our heads here as we go underneath these low-hanging branches, guys. Over on our right, in just a moment, you'll be able to see up the street the Royal Ontario Museum, or ROM as locals call it. Massive stone building kind of glowing off in the distance there. Now, you can't really see the crystal, which is on the other side of the building, more on Bloor Street. But right there, of course, easy way to kill a day, spends it in the ROM. You can find so many departments in there, from ancient Egypt, which has a real live dead mummy you can see up close. There's medieval armor and weaponry, Roman artifacts, tons and tons of stuff. And if you get